question to kind of get an understanding of how familiar everyone is with fintech and cryptocurrency and fuzzy speaker systems. Is that you standing too close to me, or is it all the buzz?
I saw it.
Okay. Maybe we can turn this off for the time being. So are most people like investors? I know a fair amount about it. Or are most people interested, but like I've heard of a Bitcoin, but I'm not completely sure of what it is, how blockchain works, etc. Let's do this. Show of hands, how many would consider themselves kind of like at an amateur level? Okay, good. I fall into that box as well, so no worries. How many would consider themselves at like a moderate, medium level of understanding with crypto and fintech? Okay, great. And how many here are like advanced, they've launched their ICO, they've like got an exchange going, all this other stuff? One in the back, perfect, 1 or 2, good. Well, that's why you are our panelists, perfect. This will help a little bit so that we can have the panelists frame their answers in a way that's the appropriate depth for understanding for the audience. And we'll try and keep it interesting that way.
Well, I think we've
start as well, so just all you're welcome. My name is John Richard Hansen, and I'm the chair of Trondheim Fintech, which is an open initiative, building the bridges together between the local actors within the fintech community and the banks and finance. So I didn't know, but banking and finance is actually the third largest industry here in Trondheim. So it's great to see that there's a thriving fintech interest as well. So looking forward to kind of getting to know all of you and at least engage all of you. This event is together with F3 and it's pre-Technoport conference. And it's kind of been arranged by our friend Sean over here. Hello, Sean. I have a great lineup for you tonight. And the first one is, you actually met Dave briefly. I met Dave the first time a few years ago when he used to move to Trondheim at the new museum, which is kind of popular up here. And he's the kind of only friend I have on Facebook that regularly meet US presidents. So I'm just proud of knowing Dave on Facebook actually. And goes for a Christmas swim out in the wilderness, just because of flow. So yeah, they are here as the initiative taker or the local host of Startup Grind here in Trondheim. I think you'll introduce that yourself. So yes, welcome Dave. Dave Smith, welcome.
Thank you very much. Oh, here we go. Thanks. Yeah, so quick background on Startup Grind. I'm not sure how many people have heard of it. I really wish that buzzing in the microphones, speakers would go away. I don't know if that's fixable. Anyway, Startup Grind is one of the world's largest ecosystems for entrepreneurs. It's over 1 million total members around the globe. Startup Grind has chapters in over 300 cities. It's already in Oslo, Stockholm, Helsinki, and various other cities in the Nordics. Was founded in San Francisco in the Silicon Valley. And of course now we want to bring it here. Why? Because Trondheim is a thriving hub of entrepreneurship and technology. And so we want to help launch Trondheim itself onto the global scene of what's taking place with the startup ecosystem, with technology, with fintech and things like that. So let's do this. I know that Manuel and Nikolai are both here. If you guys would come up on the stage and join me, we'll go ahead and kick it off. So the way that this panel will run, we have two options. Option one is kind of a prepared series of question and answer that we'll discuss and go through. And option two is that we do it more of like a open chat round table. So who in the audience prefers kind of very flexible, easygoing, open chatter back and forth? Okay. About half, and who prefers kind of staying on script, on target, but making sure we cover a wide variety of different targets and topics within fintech and crypto? All right, good. We'll do the first one. Yeah, so we'll do whatever works. Guys, there's a microphone. This one here? John, yeah. So I'll I'll let these two introduce themselves, talk a little bit about who they are, their background in this space, and then we'll kick it off. Yeah, actually, that's awkward. We'll toss out the awkward third chair.
The family.
Alright. Yes, hello, my name is Manuel Lines. I'm the co-founder of bitspace. bitspace is a blockchain and exponential technology company run from Oslo, Norway. I started it a couple of years ago together with my brother, Christian, who's also here in the audience. So, there, behind. When we started getting into this space, it was really difficult to get people to believe in Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies. Now it's very much different story. Everyone is interested. The transition from last year till now is really exciting. We see a lot of new startups popping up, and it's very interesting for us to see the change that has happened. bitspace is now not only a Norwegian company. We have teams in Poland and Portugal starting up bitspace franchises or branches. The main focus of bitspace is to grow businesses around blockchain and cryptocurrencies and exponential technologies. So our first big product was Bitgate, which is Norway's best cryptocurrency exchange. Same as Kaupang. We recently did a funding round, which was very successful, and we're looking to launch beta or demo version now in Q1 and release in Q2. We also are doing a few other initiatives together with other companies. We recently started wEEtoZ together with Harmony Chain, which is a blockchain application ecosystem for the EOS platform. Maybe some of you have heard of EOS. It's, I think, the biggest ICO in history, with over $1 billion already raised. We're also doing a startup. Last couple of weeks ago, we started a new company together with Jon Bøhmer, the creator of Scala, which is looking at green bonds and developing economies to see how we can use blockchain to build the infrastructure around the world. So we're involved in a lot of different things, and we are growing very quickly. We've established headquarters in Nydalen in Oslo, and please don't hesitate to contact us for anything if you have a startup idea, if you have some traction, if you want to get blockchain involved, to have an edge over your competitors, then I think we can do a lot to help you out.
Thanks. Hello, my name is Nikolai, and I'm one of the co-founders of Kaupang Crypto. So we started out in, I think it was May last year, when I looked at the graphs and I saw that cryptocurrencies was going crazy, and as a finance major, I figured that I got to get into this. And I'm doing like a dual master's degree in finance and technology. So I've always been interested in both aspects, and I started to read up on cryptocurrencies and blockchain, and it dawned on me that this is going to revolutionize everything. At least everything when it comes to transferring value and every trust-based transaction there is today. So I wanted to invest in cryptocurrencies, and it was very hard. Even as an engineer, I found it hard. It was technically difficult. It took a lot of time. It was, how do you say it? It was not, you were not feeling safe when you were doing it, because you had to trust all these foreign companies. You had to transfer money abroad. You had to make accounts, get verification. The entire process was hard. So I figured out that someone should start a better alternative here in Norway, which just makes it easier to convert Norwegian crowns into cryptocurrencies. And that was the basis of Kaupang. So we started it last summer. It started out just as a hobby. It was me and a few friends who were interested in cryptocurrencies. And we've always built the platform on the idea that, you know, we want to make it customer-centric, we want to do gradual improvements, we want to make a minimum viable product, launch it, and then try to get feedback from our customers, like how can we improve it, how can we make the user experience better. And that was what we did. And in the beginning it was really small, and as probably most of you know, the interest of cryptocurrencies just increased like crazy during the autumn, and over the course of the winter I actually had to skip a few of my exams just to keep up with all the volume we received. So right now we are a market maker of several cryptocurrencies, which means that we guarantee for prices you can sell to us and you can also buy to us, and we make money on the spread in the price. And we try to make it easy to purchase it. We want to make the user experience as easy as possible. We want to make it fast. So we are probably the fastest way to get most cryptocurrencies if you already have Norwegian crowns. And we want to make it a safe experience by being a Norwegian company covered by Norwegian law and all the safety that comes along with it. We are also actually a broker of cryptocurrencies, which we are not communicating well enough, so we have to get that out there as well. But we are also helping out people to actually both buy and sell cryptocurrencies if they are interested in it. We have partnership with most of the bigger exchanges that exist, and it is probably easier for most people to make purchases or to make sales through us than it is for them to do it themselves. So yeah, that's me and the business.
All right, perfect. Thank you very much, guys. So I guess the last time I'll ask everyone to raise their hands is, as he mentioned, kind of the explosion in value of cryptocurrency, probably sometime around late December or early January. How many people invested a whole bunch of money and were like, oh shit, when it went back down? Some of us. I know there's some of us out there. Now, so the first thing I want to discuss is crypto is very speculative, right? Nobody really knows where it's going or what's going to happen. And I think that for any audience, that's probably one of the most important topics and most difficult topics to tackle. So the first is that cryptocurrencies ideally will facilitate global collaboration, right? And there's a lot of kind of question over how this will affect large financial institutions, banks and such, right? Some people, in fact, invest in crypto in order to keep their money out of the banks. But my question would be, how can crypto facilitate global cooperation? And furthermore, what are some of the potential outcomes of doing this? And you can each answer if you'd like, and we'll try and keep the answers relatively short.
Okay, so the fundamental mechanism in crypto, which is the trust machine, allows people who people who don't have trust for each other, like for example, big countries like China and US, they don't necessarily trust each other. So cryptocurrencies enable them to play on a level playing field, a neutral ground. And I think that's a very important thing when it comes to global interaction and global commerce, that everyone plays by the same rules and everyone knows what the rules are. I think it's still a little bit early in cryptocurrency technology. It's not really gained that much traction yet as a global financial tool, but it's starting to happen, and it will become increasingly more powerful in the years to come. There's a special property in crypto and blockchain, and that is that it gets more powerful and it works better the more people that use it. So as it grows, the growth will also keep increasing, and that's when it's really gonna, when the price stabilizes, and we can start using it for commerce. I think that it can replace a lot of the existing financial infrastructure. I don't know if the question was purely on finance or just general in collaboration.
It was mostly a general question, but you can take it in another direction if you like.
Yeah, so it's also, cryptocurrency is not only money, and blockchains is the technology behind. It's actually a way to agree on the same truth, and it's a way to collaborate without middlemen and without gatekeepers. So it's a great tool for organizing internationally to enable different people around the world to cooperate without necessarily needing some bilateral agreements or other ways to enforce whatever you're doing together. It can be a global infrastructure for a lot of things, including information sharing and yeah.
No, that's good. Would you like to take the same question, the next level, a little bit deeper?
Yeah, sure. So I think that it's pretty hard to actually understand the value or to fully appreciate the value of blockchain as a Norwegian, because most of our infrastructure is already very well developed. So a lot of the applications we can use blockchain for is already functioning like reasonably well in Norway. Of course, it could be way, way better, but if you compare it with a lot of the world, we don't have as many problems with it. If you want to do an international bank transfer with a Norwegian bank, yes, it's slow, it's very costly, but usually you'll be fine doing it. But if you're from Russia or if you're from China, it might be a lot harder to actually make an international transaction. The bank might stop it. And if you're among one of the 2 billion people in the world who is not currently banked, then it's impossible to make a transaction internationally. So that's just one of the applications where it's going to make it a lot easier. And we also have, there's so many applications where you have a third party you have to trust to transfer some sort of value. This could be your identity, which now, you know, as a Norwegian, again, we have our Norwegian passport. We can pretty much cross every border. I think it's only like Sweden have a passport that opens more border than us. But then you have so many people in the world where their identity, where their government passport, it's not worth anything. And you have people who don't have a government identity, and they can't even easily cross borders. It's really hard for them. And that is just the identity debate. Now with the civil war in Syria, you have the education documents. All the people who took a bachelor's degree, master's degree, it all went away. So when these people traveled to foreign countries, they wanted to get a job, they couldn't prove that they had the education that they actually had, because it was locked in central databases, and when the war broke out, the databases were destroyed or broken down or whatever, so they could not prove that they had actually done the education that they had, so you know they had to start all over again. And this is another application of blockchain where you can put your education on a blockchain, which will be globally accessible. Everyone can validate that you have actually done the education you state that you have. And again, this will just open so many doors for so many people, and at least from developed countries, where we in Norway, we have reasonable systems compared to many other places in the world, so it might be hard to see some of these applications.
That's very good. The only reason that I asked you to go one level deeper, it's not because your answers were not sufficient. I just want to make sure that for the audience that we're covering kind of a variety of depth with the answers here. So what are some of the main challenges in Norway in particular when it comes to competing in the global blockchain industry? And you can go ahead and answer that, and I'll ask you a follow-up on it.
Yeah, so I think by far the major problem for us is that there is not a single Norwegian bank who want to cooperate with a blockchain company in Norway. So yeah, that is it's actually pretty unbelievable because I don't think they fully appreciate the consequences of what they are doing, because the blockchain community in Norway is growing very fast. We see that last year we had a few companies around, and now I think it's at least 50 companies in Norway now working with blockchain, and there's a new one popping up every day. You have mining companies, you have software development companies, you have brokers, you have market makers, you have exchanges. There's a lot of infrastructure growing up, and you see most of the companies are not allowed to open a bank account. And for us, we have a how do you say it? Like a stock company, and we're not allowed to open a bank account with it, and that makes it a lot harder to do business, because we have to run the company as a sole proprietorship. That puts all the liability of any debt on me personally. That's always a risk, when your transaction surpasses millions of crowns every day. And also it just makes operating business with anyone a lot harder. So I would definitely say that is one of the major difficulties. And we know from our clients, we're working with companies who are developing new blockchains. They might have an ICO. First of all, they will need some token for their customers to actually participate in the ICO. Then they will need to liquidate the tokens to actually pay their bills. And this is not really possible. If you tell the bank that you're going to do this, they will not allow you to open a bank account. And what this does is that it forces the companies like us to sort of seek alternative ways to run the company like we do. We have to run as a sole proprietorship, and we just have to hope that the bank doesn't shut us down like they did to one of our competitors in Norway. And yeah, it's really makes it a lot more difficult.
Fair enough.
And yeah, just to add to that, we just received a statement from Innovation Norway, which I believe should support fintech companies and blockchain companies, and they stated that they will not support any companies involved in blockchain at this point. And when you have an organization like Innovation Norway and they say they will not support blockchain organizations in Norway, that just forces all innovation out of Norway. The companies will move out of Norway, the innovation will move out, and we will lose a lot of jobs and a lot of wealth. So, yeah.
I know that you were looking at me like you had some follow-up to that specific question. You can if you like, or I'll throw a different one at you. It's up to you.
Well, I can mix it in with your question if you want.
Okay, perfect. So for you, I was going to ask specifically more about startups, right? So how can startups deal with the regulatory uncertainties that surround cryptocurrencies? And then, of course, combining that with the answers that he provided on competing globally in the blockchain industry.
Yeah, of course, I completely agree with Nikolai. It has been very difficult environment here in Norway for several years, and we have been in this space for a long time, and we've seen the development. When we first got into crypto in 2013, 2014, we experienced the Norwegian exchange, Justcoin, which was a really good quality exchange, global quality exchange. They had to move out of the country, and that of course was a blow to the cryptocurrency and blockchain industry in Norway. So from our perspective, we have worked hard on this issue since we started, and we have during these years that we have operated, we have established connections with a lot of different people in different sectors, like auditors, people from bank and finance, lawyers, to do really deep research on what we can actually do in Norway and what we cannot do. And that's how we landed on what the configuration that we have right now for Bitgate, which is not an exchange in the sense that Bitstamp or the other foreign exchanges where they accept fiat deposits. We are looking at an operation where you buy bitcoins directly with Norwegian krona. In that sense, we do not hold custody of Norwegian krona funds. That does require a license according to Norwegian law. So we have done a lot of research in Norway on Norwegian law, but also we look, of course, abroad. Unfortunately, we have been forced to step up our focus on the European Union and see what other jurisdictions we can find partners to operate with. We do have a configuration in Norway where we will use Safello for the handling of fiat currencies, but we also at the same time looking to start up branches of Bitgate in amongst others, Estonia, for example, which are spearheading the European Union development on regulation. They actually have already implemented a cryptocurrency regulation for crypto exchanges, and that is not yet an EU directive, but they are. It's a proposed directive, so they have actually implemented that in Estonia. So that's one of the countries that we're looking to operate. We're not leaving Norway, but we need to have several feet on the ground in different jurisdictions to make sure that we have a stable company. Because we have a lot of investors in Bitgate, people are investing big amounts of money, and we need to do everything we can to mitigate the risks of our investors. So we don't have one plan, we have plan A and B and C and D, just to make sure that this is going to happen.
Thank you very much, both of you. So I know we also have guys from the IOTA Foundation here as well who would probably love to dig into this topic and may do so during their own presentation. The next question that I wanted to ask is actually for you, Nikolai. And so you mentioned that you haven't received a ton of support from organizations such as Innovation Norway. And you spoke a little bit about how it's kind of interesting that the fintech and crypto are largely developing in countries that have less regulation. So it's kind of doing a balancing act, right? And what I'm curious about is how is Kaupang, what are you doing to improve the reputation of cryptocurrencies with the general public?
Yes, this is a topic that has interested us more and more lately because we're starting to see that the way we choose our words when it comes to blockchain and cryptocurrency can have a huge impact on how the regulators and the banks and every other relevant organization, how they will view the whole space. Because we cannot ignore that Bitcoin has, how do you say, like, they have a bad reputation history-wise, you know, at least from the bank's point of view. And nowadays, you know, blockchain it's very popular in all the banks and all the big consultant firms, and everyone's looking at it. And they're starting now to talk about how they can, how they like blockchain and how they dislike cryptocurrencies, which, you know, if you actually have a technological understanding, that just doesn't make sense. But, you know, you have these loaded words where one of them is positive and one of them is negative. And we have to choose how we should phrase these words and how we should communicate the whole topic towards at least the regulators and the banks, which are critical for the blockchain infrastructure in Norway. Because what we see today is that the blockchain and cryptocurrency environment in Norway, or the community, what they're trying to do is that they're trying to build the solutions for the fintech solutions of tomorrow. You know, they are trying to give people back their right to privacy. They're trying to give people back the control over their money, over their identity, over their contracts, you know, everything. And there's so much good going on, ranging from green projects to finance. And if we communicate this the correct way, the potential for startups in Norway is huge. You have a lot of smart people in Norway, and you have a lot of blockchain startups in Norway right now. But if we do not communicate this properly to the banks and to the regulators, some of them still believe that cryptocurrencies is Bitcoin, and that Bitcoin is used on the dark web, and these are people who want to not pay taxes, and these are people who try to money launder. Some of them don't fully understand what blockchain is in 2018, and I think we have to be smart in the way we communicate this, because blockchain is internet of value, and we really have to make sure that the laws in Norway will allow the innovation to happen here as well.
That's an interesting response. I can just imagine that a lot of the folks are like, oh no, the Silk Road is coming to Norway. People are going to be buying cocaine and weapons with cryptocurrencies here. Manuel, let's do this. I'm curious, kind of a similar question, but how do you provide customers with security and safety on the Bitgate exchange platform itself?
Yeah, so like Kaupang, we've had a lot of focus on this for a long time, and we've identified a couple of things that make it difficult for the mainstream, not technologically savvy people to use Bitcoin. Among others, the need to be responsible for your own security. When you download a Bitcoin wallet, you're more often than not, you're asked to write down 12 words. I don't know if anyone of you have been through that experience, which is a rather cool concept for me. I'm also a technologist, but for most people it's strange that you have to pull out a pen and paper and write down your 12 words and never lose them. Otherwise you lose all your money. So in Bitgate, it was very early, it was apparent that we need to have custody of our customers' Bitcoins. We of course will allow people to withdraw their Bitcoins like any exchange, but the Bitgate application will not only be an exchange, it will also be a wallet. So we actually take care of the security for our customers. The feeling of using Bitgate will basically be like using your internet bank. We'll have bank ID login, so all you need to log into your Bitcoin wallet and access your Bitcoins is to log in with your bank ID, which means that everyone with a Norwegian personal number from day one is already basically a customer of Bitgate. There's no further registration needed. Within 20 seconds you'll be able to place your order and reserve your Bitcoins for that price. So that's one of the main things we do to make people feel safe, that we're actually taking care of the Bitcoins. They're not going to lose any money. And then there's the other aspect, which is to feel that you're not doing anything wrong when you're using Bitcoin. A lot of people think about Silk Road and think about drugs and cocaine and weapons and assassination markets and whatever. Should I go on? We take a lot of care. We have had a dialogue for more than a year now with DLA Piper on to make sure that we don't do anything illegal, and we also protect our customers from doing something illegal. We'll have automatic tax reporting so that there will be no... You don't have to worry that you're not paying the taxes that you should be paying when you trade on Bitgate. And that's, I think, very important for the mainstream to feel that they are taken care of. It should be foolproof. In terms of how we secure the Bitcoins of our customers, we're using the world-leading company and world-leading system for Bitcoin security, which is BitGo. A lot of major exchanges use this. We also ensure that the custody Bitcoins in custody from hacking and theft through if skadeforsikring. So that's on the security part. In terms of the regulatory part, we have a partnership with Chainalysis, which is the world leading company for analyzing the blockchain to make sure that the funds that are put in the Bitgate exchange do not stem from dark markets or illegal activities. So it will basically give us a insight into whatever the users are doing, and whenever there's some malicious activity going on, we'll have to report it to the authorities. So the Bitcoin exchanges in Norway are not required by law. We're not required to be regulated, but we're doing everything we can to act as if we are regulated, and whenever the regulation hits us from the European Union, which it will eventually, I mean, it's just a matter of time until we have Bitcoin regulations in Norway. And when that day comes, then we are already compliant because we are doing it. We're complying to the proposed regulation, and we're setting up all our systems so that we're ready for that. We have access to Bank ID through Signicat, which also operate in several European countries, and we're planning to expand together with them so that it will be easy for us to launch in new territories. And as I mentioned, Safello for the KYC and the fiat handling of fiat currencies and banking relations. They also have operations in most of Europe, most of the European currencies, and that will also allow us to expand into new jurisdictions quickly together with them.
Thank you very much. I want to see real quick, Sean, how much time have we got up here?
We have at least 10 minutes, 10, 15 minutes.
Okay, good. So I have literally tons and tons of questions, but I do want to give the audience the opportunity to ask some questions. I'm not sure if we're hitting this at a level that's sufficient to you. If you want something that's more in-depth, if you want something that discusses the environmental impacts of mining cryptocurrencies, if you want to discuss something about tax and finance implications, if you want to discuss literally anything. Is there someone in the audience maybe has some questions that they'd like to ask?
How do you withdraw money from heavy money if you don't have a license to sell fiat?
I think we can all hear
Can you
you.
hear that?
Everybody can hear him, right?
Everyone hear?
The question is, one more time.
How can you withdraw money from Bitgate if you don't have a license to sell fiat money?
Okay.
If I understood correctly.
Yeah, so first of all, when you say money, what do you mean?
I mean fiat.
Okay,
Yes.
so you're asking how do you withdraw fiat?
Yeah.
There is nothing to withdraw because you don't have fiat currency in the Bitgate exchange, in the Bitgate wallet. You have bitcoins only. In the future, we will enable fiat deposits as well, and we will connect it to a blockchain infrastructure, so it will become a decentralized exchange. But at first, you will only hold cryptocurrencies in the wallet, and in order to withdraw fiat currencies, you'll have to trade it back. You have to sell your bitcoins for Norwegian krone, and they will be transferred to your bank account. So it's a pure buy and sell operation.
You mentioned, that's fine, I'll yell. You mentioned that Bitgate, for instance, would have ownership over Bitcoins. And what gives me as a customer a protection against, say, bankruptcy? Because I don't hold the keys, the private keys to the coins myself.
Yes. The custody of bitcoins is done in cooperation with BitGo, which means that BitGo holds, it can hold, depending on how we configure it, they can hold a key. So it is possible to share the liability between Bitgate and BitGo, and also even the customer using a third party. So during the beta of our service, we're going to explore different ways of mitigating that risk.
Yes.
What would be the ideal regulatory measures, or what is your ideal regulation for crypto in Norway? Like, what would be the perfect regulation for crypto in Norway? from a law perspective?
It's a very good question, and I'd also be curious on the balance of it. Where is the ideal balance? Is that kind of what you're talking about?
Yeah, like what is like a fair tax, for example?
Are you asking just? I mean, it's answering all the questions.
Yeah,
maybe you can state specifically who you're asking. So.
Yeah, I'm asking the both of you.
Okay, I'll just.
Then I get the two
Do you want-
perspectives. Want to start or should I?
You can start that.
Okay. So you're asking about the optimal regulation, and then you also asked about the scope of taxation. They're actually two separate questions. In terms of regulation, the optimal situation for us, I think, would be something like they have in Estonia, where you have a specific crypto exchange regulation, which is a proposed EU directive, as I said, that they have actually already implemented. They have an exchange regulation, and they also have a wallet regulation for electronic currencies. So I think that's a very good way to do it, because then a business knows exactly what they have to comply with. In terms of taxation, that's a pretty difficult question, and without getting political, I don't want to be political here. I think that it objectively, I think I can say safely that some interpretation of the current tax regime, in terms of capital gains, that you have to pay tax on every transaction, that may turn out to be completely impossible. Which I'm not going to say I'm not going to be too sure in my statement here, but I think that will have to change if I'm going to make a guess. And generally, I think that there will be many more transactions. So it probably, in order to fund the welfare state, I mean, that's basically what it's all about, funding the common goods. The percentages may possibly be adjusted much lower, and we can still have the same amount of funding for all the things that we like about the welfare state.
I'm going to put a quick, nothing here should be construed as financial advice from, etc. So you know how those legal guidelines work, so this is only for panel stuff, right?
Yeah. Full disclaimer.
Yeah, exactly.
I'll just quickly add on that. There's already pretty well-established tax regulations in Norway when it comes to cryptocurrencies. So one of the problems with it today is that it states that every transaction in cryptocurrency is a realization of wealth. So for people who does thousands of transactions, it's literally impossible to actually do that in practice. So that's at least one thing that has to change. And when it comes to the regulations, I think for us the main problem today for us as a business is that the banks do not appreciate that they have all the how do you say, that they are responsible for the anti-money laundering. So right now for us as a business, it would be a lot better if we had to do the anti-money laundering and if we had to do all the know your customer, because then theoretically at least the banks would be much more cooperative. So yeah.
That sounds like a whole lot of responsibility that I'm not sure they're ready to throw at you guys yet.
Yeah, it's not that hard in practice. So paperwork.
Other questions from the audience? There's got to be some good ones. Come on. What do you got?
If you're just going to distribute the money, how will you defer from the banks?
Is that a question to me? Yeah. I'm not sure I fully understand the question.
If you're just using the technology as a machine for letting money change hands and making money on that, how are you going to defer from banks?
Yeah, so right now, most of our economical system is based on fiat currencies. So what I thought when I started Kaupang was that in order for us to enable the blockchain revolution, to put it that way. The first step that has to be done is you have to make it possible for people to convert their fiat currency into cryptocurrencies. So in the beginning, there's going to be a transition period where people actually have to be able to interchange the two. And then in the future, I mean, personally, I think that fiat currencies and cryptocurrencies will live side by side for a very long time. But you already see decentralized exchanges that does not base their operation on any fiat currencies. So there is already an existing solution for that. But for us, our goal is to make it very easy for Norwegians to actually take part in blockchain. And for them to do that, you have to make it possible for them to use fiat currency. And to do that, again, you have to rely on the banks.
Perfect. We got time for more questions up here. John? Yes, okay, perfect. Well, you've already asked one. I just want to make sure that nobody else has a question real quick. Gotta be fair and all. Anybody else? Going once, going twice?
This is a short one. Could either of you talk us through the procedure of buying cryptocurrency with fiat through either of your exchanges?
I guess we can both do it. So very quickly, with us, you go to our website. It's written down there. It's kevfancrypto.no. You place an order where you simply say that you want to buy, say, Bitcoin. You want to purchase it for this amount. And then you write in your name, your wallet address, and so on. And then you place the order. You will get the payment instruction delivered both on site and on email.